All right, thanks so much for being with us here on Atlanta News First Plus. I'm Joy Lim Nakrin. Remember, yesterday we brought you the news of the arrest of one of the YSL Case Defense Attorneys, and that was for, I guess, a drug-related charge of having a prescription pill outside of the container, and a few other charges. Just want to show you kind of the image of that arrest happening at Fulton County Court, and this attorney faced a judge or is facing a judge today. But I want to bring in another YSL case defense attorney joining us this afternoon. We have Suri Chada Jimenez joining us. And Suri, I think you actually were there. You witnessed the whole thing. What can you tell us about what happened, first of all?
That's correct, Joy. Hi, thank you for having me again. What happened is that the level of security has increased to a point where we're treated like suspects. In order to go into the courtroom, we need to have a canine inspect our belongings, and then an officer does a secondary inspection. That happened to me, and it happened to all of us. I think it also happened to members of the district attorney's office. And my colleague, our brother, Mr. Menendez, had his own prescription pills in his bag, and they decided to put him in handcuffs for having his own medication in his own bag.
So, and then that is what he's claiming, is it was his own medication that was inside of his own bag. The charges here, thank you for sharing this with us. Drugs not in the original container, which is a misdemeanor offense. Preventing or disrupting lawful meetings, gatherings, or processions. Possession of dangerous drugs, possession of Schedule II controlled substance, willful obstruction of law enforcement officers, a misdemeanor. Looks like surety bond of $1,000 for each of these. Are you aware? I mean, it's your colleague, but you may not know everything that's going on. Are you aware kind of what's happening with that? I assume that he did post bond. I believe he did post bond.
He I think posted a $5,000 bond through Second Chance Bonding. They jumped in to help. They didn't charge him a fee. They're helping us in this case. He's represented by a great attorney, Mr. Brian Tevis. He's in good hands. The issue is that these charges are trumped up. There is no reason for them to have ever charged him with any of this. The main charge, the one that got everything rolling, is the no pills not in the original container. It doesn't apply to him. They're prescribed to him. There is an exception to that, and that is what's frustrating. These officers are supposed to be there to enforce the law, and they don't know the law. You don't have to be a lawyer to know the law. In order for you to arrest somebody, you should know what the elements of the offense are. And in this case, there's an exception because they're his medications.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I understand that his client, Mr. Farley, Miles Farley, he's going to be at a bond hearing this afternoon. But the decision was made following the arrest of Mr. Manetas, Anastasios Manetas, this defense attorney, that the client he was representing was going to be severed from this case. And I've learned this through you as one of my main sources, that this case is going to be severed. Or the charges against this defendant Farley are going to be, and the trial of his case is going to be severed from the rest of the YSL, case defendants. Tell us a little bit about that and how you feel about it.
Well, I think Mr. Mendez would be the best to answer that question. What I think is that there is no reason we should have a jury trial of 28 co-defendants. It got down to 13 after some of them pled and some of them have no attorneys. But this should have been individual trials for many of the people, especially because that would not be wasting so many resources of the taxpayer. In this case, it's going to be up to Mr. Farley and his attorney to determine whether or not they want to challenge the severance. They're going to have to evaluate it and see if it's in the best interest of Mr. Farley. The judge has made a decision, but nothing's final till it's final. So we will see what happens in the next few days about that.
Yeah. How do you think that this what we've seen transpire, with Mr. Manetas, how does it impact this case at large?
Well, I think that the way he's treated, it's just exposing the way that we have all been treated in this courthouse by the Sheriff's Department. It is just a lack of respect for the defense bar. We are officers of the court. We have gone through extensive security and background checks to get our bar license. We treasure this bar license. This is our career. We're not going to risk it over some pill or over some marijuana. It is not us that are bringing the contraband. They're trying to make a link to whatever alleged contraband they said happened a couple of days ago with Mr. Ryan. In that case, they alleged that Mr. Ryan had marijuana sewed into his underwear. I can assure you, I don't know much about the facts, but I can assure you that it wasn't me and it wasn't any of the other attorneys that went into that courtroom and sewed marijuana into somebody's underwear. That came from the jail. That came from a lack of security at the Fulton County bed-bug-ridden jail, not from us.
So what's next in this? What's next for Mr. Manetas and his client, Mr. Farley?
Well, if we remain severed, what that means is that his case will be tried separately. I hope that his bond is granted. There is a bond hearing for him this afternoon. I think it's at 4 p.m., where the judge is going to address whether or not to grant the bond that was requested by Mr. Manetas for his client. Mr. Farley is one of the best candidates for bond. He is a college-educated entrepreneur, very strong ties to the community, zero criminal record. He's got nothing in his record. He's not a flight risk. He's not a risk to reoffend. He's not a risk to intimidate witnesses or victims, whatever alleged victims. So I hope the judge grants him a bond, and then Mr. Manetas will put up a great fight in defense of his client. I know that.
This, just kind of backing up and talking about this jury selection process at large, this has gone on for 4 months now. Do you think that we're close to seeing a jury seated?
I think we're halfway there. That's what I think. I think we're almost to the point where we will have enough people that are potentially qualified after we go through hardships, and then we'll be able to get into the substantive voir dire, which be asking them about possible bias that they may or may not have. And that's going to be the most important part of voir dire of the jury selection. And that should be coming soon. Maybe we'll start that around June.
Why is this taking so long?
Because we are asking a huge ask from the citizens of Fulton County. We are telling them to put aside their life, to put aside their interest in their professional interest, their education interest, their interest in their family. They might be caretakers of children, of elderly parents, of just extended family members. And we're telling them, hey, don't think about any of that. Come here and give us your full attention for 6 to 9 months so you can listen to the state's story, fairy tales that they're going to tell. And it's very hard. It's very hard for anybody to put aside such a big chunk of time from their life. And we are truly grateful for the ones that will be able to sit with us. But this is why it's taking so long, because the great majority of people are just it will be an extreme hardship for them to be part of our jury.
And so as we're just watching this video, we're looking at some of the prior disturbances that have taken place, that there was at one point someone was removed for drug possession, I believe.
That's correct. I think
Here's Mr. Manetas, who we've been talking about, who was arrested, by the way. I'm sorry. Go
No
ahead.
problem. I mean, there's been issues in the court. There's been problems with somebody giving a handshake, and apparently there was a pill there. I'm sure that the recipient of the handshake had absolutely no idea what was going on. And then that's a completely different case that's being investigated. And that, I believe, added a delay of maybe 13 to 12 hours because we had to end that day early. Whatever happened a couple of days ago, again, added a delay of maybe another 4 or 6 hours. And I don't think that the narrative that we are causing delays actually plays out, because we've been at it for over 4 months. And the grand total of delays that might have been caused by anybody on the defense side, because maybe we're running late, maybe somebody stepped out to the bathroom, could add up at a maximum of a 2-day delay, in my opinion. So these type of cases are going to have delays from all parties, but it's definitely not to be blamed all on the defense.
And I want to ask you, as we look at this image of Mr. Manetas being arrested yesterday, how unusual is this sort of thing to happen?
I've never seen it myself. It happens, but it is extremely unusual. Actually, what we did yesterday, at the moment I saw that they were putting handcuffs on him, I started reaching out to GACL, which is the Georgia Criminal Defense Association, Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, and they have what is called a strike team. Whenever one of us, a member of the defense bar, is in some sort of legal trouble, that we believe is not warranted, that is an overreach and an abuse of power, they jump in, and they did. They within hours, they had an attorney talking to Mr. Menendez, they had an attorney negotiating a bond, and they had a bonding company ready to post it. And he's home. He went home last night, and he should have never been arrested. Like I said, this is probably going to end up in a nice little civil settlement, which is very well deserved by Mr. Menendez.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Suri Chata Jimenez, who is one of the YSL case defendants, we appreciate you joining us and kind of updating us on the latest regarding your colleague who was arrested yesterday. Of course, we're going to keep following the latest on this YSL trial right here on Atlanta News First Plus, and of course, our traditional over-the-air podcast. Have a great day.
Thank you. That's a little weird. I didn't know.